So we've reached 1996 now, and you wonder how the Game Gear would still have games at this point. To be fair, the Game Boy was still going strong, and even the Game Boy Color, which came out in 1998, prolonged its life. The Game Gear was a really powerful competitor, boasting a colour screen and the strengths of the Master System in a handheld form, which gave the advantage over other competitors at the time, including the Game Boy itself. However, its garbage battery life due to its hardware and support from Sega ultimately spelt its downfall and discontinuation in 1997, and the Game Boy prevailed. History lesson on the Game Gear aside, we also reached the final Sonic the Hedgehog game released for it with Sonic Blast. Sonic Blast was known in Japan as G-Sonic, and the western name of the game is not to be confused with Sonic 3D Blast Flicky's Island, which was a swan song for the Genesis/Mega Drive, though I understand why you would get the two confused. Sonic Blast also got a Sega Master System release in Brazil only through its Tectoy range, and nowadays copies of that, like other Tectoy releases, can get quite up there, and the port itself as well, something I'll talk about later. For context, I will be showing footage of the final boss fight as it relates to a point in the review. In Sonic Blast, you once again have the choice of two characters. You have Sonic the Hedgehog, and replacing Tails from Sonic Chaos and Triple Trouble, you now have Knuckles the Echidna working alongside Sonic. One day, a mysterious island pops up near Sonic's home. This island unfortunately has the trademark features of Sonic's arch-nemesis, Doctor Robotnik, who's once again probably up to no good. So Sonic and Knuckles decide to go and teach him a lesson. But Robotnik, being prepared for this, has set up traps and baddies in place to stop our two heroes. Join Sonic or Knuckles as they race through to 5 levels to stop Dr. Robotnik and destroy his island base while collecting the 5, possibly 6, it looks like a 6 or the Master Emerald breaks into pieces at the start of the game, Chaos Emeralds. But how does this game stack up against the other 8-bit Sonic games? Was this game a good send-off for Sonic on the Game Gear and Master System? Is the game any good? Find out in The Good. I do like the differences between Sonic and Knuckles. Both have unique abilities that can change up the difficulty of the game, though I wouldn't consider one or the other the game's easy or hard mode. Both Sonic and Knuckles have the spin dash to roll them through the zones and the spin attack to destroy enemies, but this is where the similarities and abilities end. While Sonic doesn't have the super peel out / strike dash from previous games, he now has a double jump feature where Sonic can perform an additional spin attack in mid-air. This can help him reach areas of a zone just outside his normal jumping range, hit enemies or avoid danger. Being able to reach these areas means Sonic can collect more rings and get an extra life once he gets to 100 rings, as well as explore different paths and stages. While Knuckles doesn't have a double jump, he does have the ability to glide, destroying enemies he glides into while using them as a springboard to access areas, and the ability to climb walls if he glides into them. This can allow him to access rings or places that even Sonic's double jump struggles with or can't reach. But in saying that, Sonic can also reach some areas easier with his double jump than Knuckles can by gliding or climbing. Exploring the levels can lead to a giant ring, which is the entrance to the X special stage. In the special stage, Sonic and Knuckles run to collect 50 rings, which they can get by running or jumping, if the rings are in mid-air. There are speed boosters and springs to help with this. They can also hinder their progress, as well as pinball bumpers to avoid. Act 1's special stages will always award Sonic and Knuckles with an extra life, while Act 2's special stage will award them with a Chaos Emerald. If Sonic or Knuckles fails to collect the 50 rings required, Robotnik will swoop in and take the prize away, and all the Chaos Emeralds are required to see a slightly different ending. Sonic and Knuckles only lose 10 rings if they're hurt by enemies or hazards, and while it does make parts of the game easier, it does make some of the more challenging fights like the final boss fight much more manageable. However, this is where the good aspects of the game ends, so let's talk about what wasn't so good with the bad. Let's address the elephant in the room here. The game's visuals. The game adopts pre-rendered visuals much like Donkey Kong Country. To achieve this, the graphics are rendered in 3D and then converted to sprites, which is an art that Rare was able to pull off with the Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Land games. However, this works against Sonic and Knuckles for Sonic Blast. Due to limitations, Sonic and Knuckles have few animation frames, which explains why Sonic and Knuckles won't turn around to face the player when they get the reward from the special stages, and Sonic sprites in general just look ugly as sin. Knuckles fares significantly better, and this shows with their victory poses. The lack of animations to me also makes the game feel slow even with the speed shoe pickup. The timer is also noticeably absent, and while the start of the zone tells you that you have 10 minutes to complete each act, there's no indicator to tell you how close to 10 minutes you actually are. There wasn't anything very notable about the music, which is usually something I look forward to in a Sonic game as well. The limited colour palette combined with the pre-rendered visuals make the stages feel very bland and uninspired in general, and the naming scheme doesn't really do it many favours either, with the naming pattern being insert colour here, insert location here, zone. While Green Hill Zone is iconic as a Sonic zone, Yellow Desert Zone, Red Volcano Zone, Blue Marine Zone, and Silver Castle Zone don't quite have the same ring to it, if you excuse the pun. The visuals sort of remind me of bootleg Sonic games, except I keep being reminded that this game is actually real. The other issue with the game is with the game's screen crunch and its port to the Master System. Aspect were doing so well, and it's an absolute shame that this has become an issue again. Once again, owing to the visual style, in order for these sprites to look right on a smaller display, everything has to get bigger, so Sonic and Knuckles are bigger, and the stage elements are bigger to try and scale with it. With sprites being bigger, more room gets taken up, and there are moments in Red Volcano Zone where you do need to jump blindly to progress, and running too fast may result in you running into a wall of spikes in Yellow Desert Zone, or into many of the enemies in Silver Castle Zone. Navigating around the area in Blue Marine Zone and not knowing where water currents were was an absolute pain too, and although Sonic and Knuckles have a timer which drops from 9 before they drown, the timer goes down pretty quickly, so you need to find air fast. Thankfully, air isn't randomised, and an air bubble will appear after a short amount of time in certain areas. But if you aren't careful, you'll probably drown before you get there. While the Master System does resolve the screen crunch issue, despite not shifting the ring counter to account for it, the port of the game to the Master System brings up a whole bunch of new issues. The levels do take advantage of the increased screen size, but it turns out that the waterfalls and clouds share the same colour palette, so you'll get some pretty funky flickering clouds in Green Hill Zone. The title screen, character select screen, act screen and special stages do not scale in size like the levels do, so you have a small picture with a large border around it, and the border isn't even a fancy border either. The border around the special stage just looks like an absolute mess. To me it feels like the Master System port was more of an afterthought or just a quick, hastily made port to capitalise on the still popular Brazilian market, where the Master System continued to be somewhat relevant to this very day, though more of an emulated console marketed as a plug-and-play console. I think I've complained enough here, so it's time I give the opinion. I gave Sonic Blast a fair shot. I subjected myself to beating the game as Sonic and Knuckles, played the Master System version, admittedly through emulation as I don't own the Master System version of the game, and then beat the Game Gear version again just to see the ending without all the Chaos Emeralds, and I just really didn't have fun with it. At least with Sonic, Chaos and Triple Trouble, it was enjoyable playing through the games as Sonic or Tails. Those games had replayability. With Sonic Blast, I can appreciate making Sonic and Knuckles play differently, and there was some difficulty balance, though I think I would have been challenged more if Sonic or Knuckles lost more than 10 rings if they were hit. The visuals really didn't suit the game, and it made it look more like a bootleg than an official game, and combined with the screen crunch and a poor Master System port, I really couldn't recommend this game unless you want to subject yourself to a subpar experience. So with that, it's time for my rating. I would give Sonic Blast Tails' sprite from Sonic 3D Blast Flicky's Island out of 10. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next Infinite Backlog review. If you enjoyed today's review, feel free to check out some of our other videos and subscribe for more. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram and our Facebook page. Once again, thank you for watching.